Get ready. Mr. Vice Chairman, I was speaking about the need for developing a strong UN delegation. I wish that the Honorable Prime Minister would give his attention to this aspect of the matter, particularly in view of the fact that in the next decade or two, politics all over the world would take on a complex character, and it is necessary that men are trained from now on for taking part in international affairs. In the UK and the United States, such delegations are built with men who have wide knowledge of international affairs, and there would be other qualification for a man to be included in such a delegation. In this connection, I should also like to mention that it is time for government to develop sound conventions regarding the conduct of foreign affairs. In the United States, they have accepted the principle of bipartisan consultation on important affairs of policy. For example, when President Kennedy stood for election, President Eisenhower, even during the period of the conduct of the campaign of President Kennedy, kept him informed about major developments in foreign affairs. We have seen our government sending troops out of this country to the Congo, and at that time I said raised the point that before troops left our country for any assignments of an unusual character like the Congo assignment, members of the opposition should be informally consulted. There will be no question of any leakage of information whatever if leaders in the opposition are consulted on important aspect of foreign policy. The consultative committee of the External Affairs Ministry does go some way to meet the needs of exchanging information about foreign affairs, but the informal consultation of kind that I mentioned, where the leader of the opposition and leader of other parties are called and told by the Prime Minister about unusual developments, would strengthen the convenience that the foreign policy of the country has been supported not only for the Congress party but also of the entire country. I was speaking about our external publicity, and it is a subject on which I think I can speak with some confidence, as I have been an old time newspaper man in this country. The material which is sent out to foreign countries is extremely scrappy and useless. There is included in these messages some statement of what this minister was saying somewhere. We are trying to give publicity to ministerial activities, and it is inevitable that some such publicity should be given because ministers are in charge of the government, but one abroad does not get a real idea of what is happening in the country. I would like to suggest for the consideration of External Affairs Ministry that they should send a fortnightly assessment of what is happening in India, written dispassionately, not to please a minister or to highlight something that he has done, but to give an objective assessment of what is going on in the country. In the old days, when the British government was in existence, such fortnightly reports used to be sent by various state governments, and I think a beginning can be made in that direction in this matter. The other point I would like to suggest is that publicity is a complicated and technical matter. The foreign services, as it is constituted today, does not have sufficient training in publicity. The estimate committee, which went into the demands of the External Affairs Ministry, mentioned about the methods of training which have been adopted, but since for foreign service men are not trained in publicity work, and one seen, for example, that a lot of confusion has arisen in the United States over Ambassador Nehru's statement. I think the External Affairs Ministry might well set up a committee of members of parliament who are conversant with external publicity and some newspapermen to advise the External Affairs Ministry from time to time. I do not think that the committee will ask for information which is confidential or secret, but they can assist the newspapermen. There are a handful of competent men who would be willing to serve on the committee in an advisory capacity. They would be able to tell the External Affairs Ministry what should be done in order that our new publicity abroad is better. I might mention also that the estimate committee had recommended the creation of a cultural cell. Sir, to my mind, we have also to be clear in our mind regarding the objective of rural industrialization. Do we mean to have only diversification of rural economy, and are we going to have rural industrialization only in order to give some help to those who find themselves unemployed during a certain period of the year? Are we aiming at utilizing local resources and meeting local needs through diversification of rural economy, or have we a more fundamental objective in mind when we are trying to industrialize the rural areas? Without this, I am afraid rural industrialization will not be possible.